What's up? You are now listening to Americanized, a storytelling podcast where you'll hear from eclectic first and second generation Americans share their stories and real life experiences as children of immigrants. Hey there, this is your host Roslyn, and in this episode, Shebana shares her special yet mysterious journey of being nearly paralyzed by fear to naturally liberating her voice and body as a performance artist, and she now does the same for others through her workshops. Shebana is a performance artist who is originally from India and migrated to the US at 12 years old. She creates plays, facilitates workshops that connect people to themselves, their senses, and nature. I personally felt touched when talking with Shebana, just how profound she is in her thoughts, and the way her brain works to have this conversation was really a meaningful experience for me, and I hope listening will do the same for you. Stay tuned. I want to go back to you wanting to not be seen or heard or noticed at all, and it seems like such a contrast from that to being a performance artist. How did you go from one end of the spectrum to the other, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, it is really crazy. I will say this, I will never have imagined that for myself that would have happened because, I worked, my first jobs when I left college were working behind the camera in documentaries. And I never wanted to, even to speak. And the first thing I think that happened was I began dancing. First, I like salsa, So somehow, I always loved to dance, but somehow I was in Mexico and I fell in love with salsa. I was in this small town. I was like, oh my God. And, I came back, I was living in New York, and I would just go out to all these clubs, and it was all about dancing. So it was that something began to shift in my body. And then there was flamenco. And I remember that my first flamenco class was at a community college in Santa Fe. And our teacher, her name is was Charo Schaefer Perez. She had organized for at the end of the semester, you do a little student recital, and all the different continuing ed classes, there was a hip hop class and other dance classes, belly dancing, everyone did a little recital. And I remember the first time I got on stage and I was terrified, but to dance on stage, something happened. I just noticed something in my body, some feeling. So I just began paying attention to that, And then what happened was I wrote this poem that I was telling you about inviting fear in for tea and being frozen with it. And even when the dancers come, I'm like, no, I can't go. Even when the stage comes, I'm like, no. And then there's a bit where I see fear sitting there, holding the teacup pinky extended, and there's an ant. I see an ant. I write in my poem, an ant as dark as the place of my birth, or something like this. That bites the pinky. So I do that because of my play. This is a big moment. I go, can I bite? And fear releases me because it's been bit. And I go running, dance, and then this is all written in the poem. I haven't performed this. This was all part of the poem. This happens, and then I run. And then when I come back after dancing, I see fear is still sitting there. Fear is like a little kid now. And I invite fear to dance with me. And then we dance, and then we talk, and other stuff happens. When I saw this poem, I said, oh, this poem needs to be performed. And then I said, well, who is going to do it? And at the same time, how life happens, I saw an invitation. It was like a performance, the Roots of Performance Energy workshop in India. And it just began speaking to me, calling to me. And so I went to India for a couple of months and at a center called Natana Kerali in southern India in Kerala with a teacher named Venuji, who had created this workshop. There is a book of one of the Vedas, one of the is about theater. And it talks about the 9 primary emotions that you as a performer need to be able to feel, manifest, and cause to be felt. And it's the basis of a lot of Indian dance and theater. So for a couple of months in India, I did a bunch of different workshops. This was the most transforming. And it was it was such an amazing thing. It was I came back and I had a film to finish. But what happened was I finished this film, and after it was done, I was like, it's time to do this play. I didn't know how. I didn't know anything except I knew that that poem was the beginning of something. I knew it was going to be poetry. I knew it was going to be dance. And Russell, until this day, I can't even tell you, like when I think about that, I said to myself, I'm going to do a play and I'm going to rent a space in Santa Fe on I think it was August 15th because it was I had that date in mind. It was the independence of India, date. And I'm going to rent a space and I'm going to do 2 performances. And when I started performing, I remember that first day, it was like a small group of 70 people and, who all stood up and clapped at the end. It was like that standing. But it was a feeling of how natural it felt. I had adrenaline. I was nervous, but like it was natural. I was doing something that was natural to me, which I had no idea. I had no idea. And that I had. And so that's what happened. And then I began performing at other places and setting up occasions for it. Like I was going to Hawaii for a family wedding. Oh, I'm going to perform at this small theater. My friend in New Jersey, she has a barn in this farm. I want to perform it at this barn, the small dance space where I met many of the teachers who helped me with the dance part of it in Albuquerque. Oh, I want to perform it there. So, and then it got into, I performed it at the Pan Asian Repertory Theater's New Works Festival in New York. And that was a really cool thing for it to be seen that way. So it was like the wildest thing, which is like this thing I was most afraid of as a child and for many years was the thing that I loved. So that's how it happened. I'm telling you, it's a mystery. But that's how it happened.
Yeah, that's really fascinating how you were pretty much living out your biggest fear and in such a natural way where you were so motivated and determined to do that. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Even you saying like a small crowd of 70 people, I'm thinking 70 people is a lot of is a lot of people to perform in front of. But how liberating it must be for you to continue doing it, like not just one time, but booking these performances must be very liberating for you.
It is, and it is, and it was kind of amazing. I am going through something different now in terms of like I've just moved to where I am now, and from after being in Spain for a couple of years, and feel like I'm remembering my bravery. I'm like, oh, I was really brave.
Mm-hmm.
Something you work through the fear. And I think I had a lot of fear even when I was doing it, but it's pretty amazing when I think about it.
I read something that we can stretch ourselves for when it really matters. So it sounds like that adrenaline or the nerves was transformed into this energy, and you sense that this is something that really matters to you. So you were able to just stretch yourself and take that space and perform. And use your voice and your body to really relay the message that was so meaningful to you.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, I will say. Like, it feels like sometimes I look back on that not so long ago and it feels like someone else, in terms of that kind of. Do you surprise yourself sometimes when you were like, I believed in it so much that I did that much?
Mm-hmm. And so now you provide workshops for people to use their voice as a catalyst. What is your biggest piece of advice for people who are like trying to do that or break out of their shell and become more expressive?
I would say, from my experience, because it's very mysterious,
Hmm.
what I call this journey. You never know what feeds you, how it will work. And so, what worked for me, I always invite people to keep feeling into those small things that you love, like those small moments, making it really, really small. Like sometimes, like fear just hijacks your whole body. And what helps me in those moments is I might say, oh, I just want to look back at this one word that I wrote, that this word has so much feeling for me. You know, as someone said to me who had taken a workshop, she just happened to be in conversation and she said, um, after the workshop, she said, I speak up now in a way that I didn't before. And it's not that I want to be loud, she said, but it's just that I feel my voice is speaking truths that need to be heard to bring things back into balance. And I feel when you're withholding your voice, to think of that, the world needs your voice because something is out of balance. Like the world needs your voice. Think about the gift of your voice, things into balance. I like this word, the global majority, more than people of color. And because it's this idea that it's people who are of a color that is like 85% of the world. So there's but there's a particular nuance, I think. I think a lot of people of color from the global majority feel that sense of quietness more, of silence, being silenced more.
Mm-hmm.
They're not seeing themselves in the world so much there. So I think for me, I would say just find your joy, which is sometimes not an easy thing to do. So it might be to trust that the things that bring you joy matter. It matters that you expand that more, like do it more, do the things that you love more, just for the sake of them, because they will lead you to unexpected places. They will they just do, because joy does that. I think I was during that year, I was in a place of deep joy, and it's not like ha 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 joy, but it's like a deep earth joy, a deep something is rising from this deep root joy.
Oh, that's really fantastic. And like you said, it's not easy, but once you find it, it's like hold on to it and go from there. And I like what you said about global, sorry, you said global
Global majority. This is a term
majority.
that, yeah, it's called the global majority. Is another way of saying BIPOC.
I like that. Yeah, that's what it is. Global majority. We are silenced by a lot, and I know that's really powerful when you say to use our voice to bring balance into the world, to speak our truths, because I think that's a lot of what the world is missing. And if we're the global majority and we're all being silent, that's a problem for the world.
Yes, there's a level of nuance I feel in certain old cultures, right? We're talking about really, really old cultures that had a different connection to joy, root, food, dance, ritual, song, being, just being, community. And I feel there is so much like that I'm discovering from even just speaking Urdu. Like for example, it's not off topic, but it's connected. It's not, but it's about this nuance of passion, for example, love. Like in Urdu is connected to courtesans, for example, these women who maybe in certain parts of culture historically in India lived outside off the grid, you know, they danced, right, for the, maybe for royalty, but they also remembered poetry and they taught poetry, they taught old poems, old things, and they got to live outside of norms, outside of boxes. You know, they were not traditional. And my grandmother used to love these old songs. And I was talking to someone in India who sings old songs. Some of them are in Urdu. And she said to me, so she was again, you know, pronunciation, how you open your mouth. But the thing of it, she said, was there's all old love songs. She said, you know, these songs are about a full on submission, surrendering to love at a time when like submission or surrender, it was a different thing. She said, do we in this day and age know what it means to absolutely surrender? You know, she said, that's what you need to find to sing the song. This, and I think when I thought of it, not in terms of like just surrendering, a woman surrendering to a man, I just thought about the fullness of what if we surrendered to what we love that way, you know, in the fullness of it, and just trust that loving what it is that gives you joy will guide you in your life. Surrendering to that in a very deep rooted way, in a full rooted way. What would that be like if you did that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, but the way she said it, you know, she said, do you know, could we even imagine what it's like? The memory of surrender in this language.
Yeah, that's like a really good question because I'm just thinking about American life and our day to day and how busy we make ourselves, and then the passions are the things that are on the back burner, the things that we meant to get to or will get to eventually on the weekend. And so that's a great question. What would it look like to surrender to our passions and what we really love? I have no idea.
Yeah.
That is a question. That is a
Yeah.
great question. Okay, Shabana, before we go, I do want to ask you this final question, and then I want you to share where people can find you. But before we go, what is your one message that you're leaving the listeners with today?
My one message. Well, I'm gonna just speak a poem based on what I see, or I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about what I see from my window. So, let's see where it goes. Okay. What I want to say is that through this window, I see one cloud that is very full of feeling, standing over 10 trees full of pinon seeds. And in the corner, there is a little chipmunk flicking its tail in the sun. I wish for all of us that slight flicking of a chipmunk's tail in the sun, the little heartbeat going thud up, thud up, thud up.
Wow. That was good. And that was like right on the spot. I like that. And I love the imagery and I can imagine it. And I see the chipmunk's tail. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Rosalind. It was really lovely. I'm surprised at what emerged. I'm really grateful that you're doing this. It inspired me to be in conversation more with people because it's really great to connect like this.
I agree. I'm really grateful to have met you and to have this conversation. I could talk to you all day. I feel like I just like the way we are vibing, and just there's a comfort talking to you, and you keep me thinking, and I'm like constantly learning or just changing my perspective, which I love to do, and I love that connection that we had just this conversation. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I want to say that I do these workshops, and I would love to think about if there may be a group of people that you know who might want to do it, and I would love to offer that to maybe the American list. I don't know. Think about it because I really want to reach more. I do them online, I do them in person, but I haven't been doing them for a couple of months because of all this movement in my life. But I'm really ready. I really feel the need for them, for myself, and for how they can be of service.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Absolutely. I will share that information with the listeners. And just where can people find you? You can share that.
I'm only on my website. Haven't done any social media in a long time. So it's just shebanacoelho.com. And yeah, Google me the best you can. Coelho, like the writer Paulo Coelho, who wrote
Yes,
The
okay.
Alchemist. So Coelho. Yeah, that's how you can find me. And I'll have some workshop offerings soon. Like I said, I'm getting ready to really bring them back into the world because I'm really feeling exciting to share.
I'm excited for that. Just hearing your journey and now you're offering these workshops, I'm really excited. And I will put your website, I will link it in the show notes so everyone knows where to go.
Thank you. Okay. You take care, Rosalind.
You too. Have a good evening. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to catch you in the next episode. All original music produced by Stubborn Soul. You can find him on all music listening platforms at STBRNSAL.